Hey guys, it's Dude Chemistry back on the Food Chemistry Show. And today, along with me, I have a special guest, Chef Gunveen Sadana. And she's an expert in molecular gastronomy. Let's hear it from her.
I'm Anil.
Hi.
So, guys, thank you for welcoming me here in
Yes,
this
sure.
show.
Sure, Chef.
I can't say me as an expert, but I'm still on a
Okay.
learning path.
Oh,
I would love to tell what I know, and I'll share my experience with you.
so, Chef, I know that you have a lot of interest in the science behind the food. And when you cook food, you look for the science behind it.
Yes.
Is that your passion or what exactly is it?
I started with cooking only. That
Okay.
was my passion.
Okay.
But just to understand more about the cuisine and the changes happening in the food industry, I went into chemistry, the food science behind it, why, and started asking questions how and why we're doing this and how it is working. That brings me into chemistry, and then I went into from food
Okay,
to
and
chemistry.
into food science. That's great to know. And on the previous episode, we had Mr. Devesh come on the show,
Yeah.
and he spoke about this one very interesting technique. While he was speaking about cocktails, he mentioned a technique called the sous vide technique.
Yeah.
And he also mentioned that it is a technique that is used mostly in cooking. Who better to ask about something about cooking rather than you? I would like to ask that what exactly is a sous vide machine and how does this technique help in cooking? Like we have normal method where we can just heat up food and get it served. But how does this sous vide give like an edge, if I were to put it that way?
Sous is just a fancy word for a
Okay.
slow cooking that we do
Okay.
and a moderate temperature.
Okay.
So the sous vide machine doesn't help in cooking anything. It's just a machine that holds the temperature of your liquid. So it
Okay.
maintains the temperature of a liquid, either a water or a cooking bath or a stock that you cooking in. That just
Correct.
moderate the temperature. So if I want to cook my food in 60 degrees, it stays 60 degrees for my 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and it stabilizes the temperature with the water bath or whatever liquid I'm using.
Sure.
That is it.
Does this give like an edge in cooking some food materials? Are there any specific food materials that are like more suited to be cooked in the sous vide machine only?
Yes, we can cook anything in chili machine right now.
Okay.
From meat to vegetables to eggs, we can cook anything in chili. So it's really more about vacuuming food into a packet and then water bath it for a particular different temperatures for a longer period. So slow cooking. Your juiciness, your temperatures, your texture of the food stabilizes. So making it undercook or overcook, it stabilizes and gives you a better texture or a better flavor because it's a slow cook.
Okay, fine. So it gives us the better texture and the better flavor. And of course,
Generally,
that's
when
what a
any
client
person
would
sits
want.
down to eat a meal,
He usually starts with the starters, then moves on to the main course, and then moves on to the dessert. But just to break tradition, why don't we start with dessert in our conversation? One of the favorite desserts of people is mousse chocolate. So how is it that creamy but that solid texture is still maintained in the mousse?
Basically, a cream is just a milk and a carpet that is there.
Correct.
Really, airy or this way, there's a air bubbles forming. So that makes it a stabilized and creamy. It gives a creamy and a foamy texture, and that is a good texture, and that's the
Okay.
mousse texture that we got. We have different ways of doing it. Either we are roasting it, or either we are using a stabilizer called lactose.
Or that.
Type.
Yeah.
That we also use to stabilize it and make a foam more stable.
Understood. Like basically, first you use a whipping technique.
Yeah.
In whipping, what exactly do you do? So just aerate the milk and keep on whisking it.
That's why so it's correct. Yeah. We do aerate the cream. So when we whip the cream, there is a air bubble form. So
Understood.
that holds your whipped cream and make it as a more fluffy and creamy.
Okay, fine. And as you said, so use lactose to stabilize this whip, right? And we just have the chocolate flavor to give it the chocolate mousse flavor, correct?
Yes, we use different varieties and you can use lecithin acid that is a product nowadays in the market. You can Google about it. It also helps you stabilize that shape that you
Understood. And I heard about a school gadget called the siphon gun. And I think I've heard about it used in the production of mousse, if I'm not mistaken. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, we have a siphon gun that is called, we also call it as escuma.
Okay.
So in that particularly we can put any liquid and make it into any foam or a cream or a stabilized foamy texture that you call it.
Okay.
So that happens because of the nitrogen gases that we use.
Okay.
So we infuse the nitrogen gases in it that makes it aerated, and then when we foam it, then using the siphon, it gives you a foam mousse texture. And it is
Understood.
for anything, not even just chemicals.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on the working of the siphon gun?
Basically, they are just one bottle that is there. I feel like a metallic bottle in which we can put any liquid. either a cream base or a milk base. Like example in a dessert we are talking about. So we'll go for dessert mousse example. We'll put a cream in it. We don't have to aerate it. We don't have to do anything. Just put the milk in it or the cream in it. And then there's a nitrogen gases that comes like this. So there's one handle that holds that gases and we have to just squeeze it and reduce that nitrogen gas into that. Once that is done, it takes almost 5 to 10 minutes to introduce that nitrogen gas into it. It might need, depends on the quantity that we're using, might need 1 gas or a 2 gas bottles that we are required. And then once it is done, we need to give it rest for 10 minutes. And then there's a pipe that brings that food out.
So now moving on to something that's very trending in desserts right now. I've seen this sphere-like substance that has a jelly coating and inside it's filled with liquid. How do you do that? So do you create a solid casing around the liquid or is it vice versa? And what exactly is that thing?
The thing we are talking about, we call it as a sterification.
Specific.
So that gives us a sphere. Mostly there's a two chemicals that we use, food, of course, food grade. One is calcium lactate and one is sodium nitrate.
Okay.
Any liquid that you want to use or any semi-thick consistency products that you want to make into a spheres or a bursting bubbles that we call it. We use a bubble bath for the sodium nitrate and another bath of a calcium lactate. We dissolve all those liquid into it one by one as per the ratio and the quantity that is mentioned. And that gives you a surface that coats and inside it's a jelly or a bubble that has a layer outside but it's liquid inside.
So just to check if I've got it correct, basically you have a sodium alginate or a calcium lactate bath, and inside that you put fruit juices or anything that you want inside that jelly ball, and you leave it for a while, and after a while the jelly ball will be formed. Like how exactly does that jelly ball form? So do you just leave the fruit juice or something inside the jelly?
The whole process how it works. If you have a juice, let's take a fruit juice or real fruit juice that we use.
Correct.
How much real fruit juice will you take? And then you freeze it into a mold or a silicon mold.
Oh.
Then that mold that has been frozen, you put it in the first algae bath.
Oh, fine. So you
that-
freeze it first.
Yes, first we freeze it, then that ball that we have frozen, it will go into a sodium nitrate bath.
Understood.
There's a particular ratio that we use for a water and that. So once that is there, we'll hold it for 5 minutes. We put that casing. Get that casing out
So
there.
then it coats it.
That coats it, and then we move it to calcium bath. That stabilizes it, and then we remove it and put it into a water bath where all the chemicals goes out from the product and you can eat it or that becomes edible.
So that's like the mystery behind. We just put it in our mouth and it pops in our mouth and we can feel that liquid inside. That's really fascinating to know.
You can try also in your house. There's a product called Sosa. So Sosa has a brand where you can find a lot of products like sodium alginate, calcium lactate, lecithins, and some gum. You can use and you can be creativity using all these products.
That's really great to know, and I'll surely try this out. We were talking about jelly balls. That brings me to the next subject, which is jelly, which is a very beloved item among kids also. I had a question that how do you give jelly that smooth texture?
For making jelly, we use a particular thing called gelatin. If you know about it,
Correct.
it's more of like made out of collagens of the
Correct.
animal product after which skin and
And also, I've heard that agar, which is a compound extracted from seaweed, that is also used to make the jelly.
yes, that is a vegetarian version you can say. All the protein that is available in our collagen tissue, either it's from animal bones or from a seaweed, or there is also one thing called from a fruit and vegetables that is called pectin. All these three works for to prepare a jelly.
Okay.
It's non-vegetarian, other two are vegetarian.
Understood. And how do you like make the texture extremely smooth? See, like you can pour out jelly out of a glass, put it back in, it will be the same.
There's nothing about it. We have a two versions of gelatin that is available in the stores.
Yeah.
One is a powder and one is a sheet.
Oh.
So if you want to use a powder, you can first cover it in the water bath. So when you pour the water into the gelatin powder, it soaks that water and then you heat it up, it becomes a liquid.
Oh.
And then that jelly liquid you add into a liquid. And when you freeze it, not even freeze it and put it in a freezer, it will become a jelly.
Understood. And
We
that
do-
will
we
be
do-
smooth.
Yeah, that will be smooth. We do nothing.
Okay, I'll do nothing.
Nothing. Just use a powder or a gelatin sheet that is fine.
Oh, and that brings me to the next question, or I feel it's a dilemma. So, if a common man were to go in a restaurant, just order some jelly, and he's vegetarian.
Yeah.
Then is it in the kitchen that you'll separate the veg jelly from like non-veg jelly where you use gelatin because gelatin is obtained from animals. So the person who is eating doesn't need to specifically mention that I'm a vegetarian, so that is why then we give him the jelly that is made from pectin or agar-agar.
As for in our restaurants, we have a FSSAI license that we have to maintain. And for that, we always mention that it has used gelatin or it has not used gelatin.
On the menu is mentioned.
It is mentioned. So there will be a non-veg or a vegetarian sign logo will be used to make sure that person don't eat non-vegetarian is a pure vegetarian.
Also, whenever the vegetarian sign is mentioned, then
Either you try agar-agar or a pectin.
agar-agar or pectin.
Non-vegetarian, of course, gelatin because gelatin has a way smoother texture than agar-agar or a pectin.
Right. And also, there has been this new coming in the market of making gelatin itself. But so I have studied a lot of biotechnology. So in biotechnology, there's plant-based meat as well, and also using that coding proteins, we've got the protein sequence to come and getting the gelatin which is man-made, and there's zero harm to animals in that. Is there any buzz about that in the food market right now? Is it in use or something, or that's still in preliminary stages?
So it is still on the very first stages, I would say, because it is still into the market. It's just coming into the market, and
Understood.
people are innovating with it, trying out with it.
Right.
But as per usage, only these things are in the market right now.
Understood.
So chefs are more confident using these three than any new, but we are innovating with it, and especially in the hotel industry, we are just confident with these three right now.
Well, this was just a dessert and this was part 1. Stay tuned for the main course in part 2.